Hello, and welcome to Computer Fundamentals, Principles and Concepts of Computing Systems, Learning Packet 4, Computer Software. Before we start, I am Carl Angelo S. Pamplona and I will be your instructor for today. Okay, so in this chapter, we will be defining the term software and tell its origin, describe the two primary categories of software and their subcategories, differentiate the two types of software interfaces, and understand malwares and identify its different forms. So the software, in its most general sense, is a set of instructions or programs instructing a computer to do a specific task. Software is a generic term used to describe computer programs that runs on PCs, mobile phones, tablets, and other smart devices. So as we say, software is the soul of the computer. Without it, computer will never be useful. Software is the bridge between the computer user and its computer hardware. Okay. To better understand computer software, we can look at its history. In 1827, the analytical engine was made and designed by Charles Babbage. And in 1843, an outline or an algorithm for what would be the first piece of program was written by Ada Lovelace for the analytical engine. In 1948, this is where software starts to more engage the wider audience. We have the Manchester Baby Software by Tom Kilburn. And in the early 1950s, the GMOS by the General Motors operating system was created. In 1958, this is when the word software became synonymous with programs and algorithms. This was coined by John Tukey. And in the late 1960s, floppy disks are introduced to distribute software. In 1971, AT&T releases the Unix OS. In 1977, computer software was first presented to the general population with the creation of Apple II. In 1979, VisiCalc is the first spreadsheet software for computer personal users. And in 1981, Microsoft releases its world-renowned MS-DOS. In 1983, Richard Stallman's GNU Linux project to create a Unix-like OS with source code that can be freely modified, copied, and distributed. And in 1984, Mac OS is released. In the mid-1980s, key software applications including Autodesk, AutoCAD, Microsoft Word, and Microsoft Excel are released. In 1985, Microsoft Windows 1.0 is released. And in 1989, CD-ROMs become the standard method to distribute software with its larger capacity than floppy disk. 1991, the Linux kernel, the basis for the open source Linux operating system, is released. And in 1997, DVDs are introduced and be able to hold more data than CDs. In 1999, the dawn of the new age, we are introduced with cloud computing or of pioneer softwares for delivery over the internet. In 2000, the term software as a service becomes widely used. And in 2007, the iPhone launched as a mobile applications begin to take hold. And from 2010 to the present, you have your DVDs, the internet, vendor subscription-based models became the norm for software distribution and software setup. Now, in order to understand software, we need to identify its two major software types. We have your system software and you have your application software. Now, system software helps the user, hardware, and application software to interact and function together. These types of computer software allows an environment or platform for other software and applications to work in. This is why system software is essential in managing the whole computer system. System software helps the user, hardware, and application software to interact and function together. These types of computer software allows an environment or platform for other software and applications to work in. This is why system software is essential in managing the whole computer system. Now, we have multiple types of system software. We have your operating systems, the utility softwares, and device drivers. So most common is what we call the operating system. These are programs that manages the computer's memory and processes, as well as all of its software and hardware. It coordinates computer resources, provide an interface between user and computer, and run applications. The most popular ones this day is your Windows, macOS, Android, and Linux. Now, utilities, on the other side, are programs that perform specific tasks related to managing computer resources. It is designed to help analyze, configure, optimize, or maintain a computer. Computer or the utility software usually focuses on how the computer infrastructure, including the computer hardware, operating system, software, and data storage, operates. So some of the most popular utility softwares are your antivirus softwares and your disk management softwares. And of course, we have your device drivers. These are specialized programs designed to allow particular input or output devices to communicate with the rest of the computer system. More commonly known as a driver, is a group of files that enable one or more hardware devices to communicate with the operating system. Without drivers, the computer would not be able to send and receive data correctly to hardware devices such as a printer. But it is not only limited to printers. You can have your webcams, your microphones, your touch devices, your monitors, and so on. Without device drivers, the computer, the operating system, will have a hard time managing its resources. Now, we have your application software. As a user of technology, application software or apps are what you engage with the most. These types of computer software are productive end-user programs that help you perform tasks. Software applications are also referred to as non-essential software, as they are installed and operated on a computer based on a user's requirement. There's plenty of application softwares that you can use to perform different tasks. The number of such apps keeps increasing with technological advances and the evolving needs of the users. Application software could be categorized as basic or specialized. Now, on those two types, you have your basic applications. These are software that are widely used in all career areas. Most of these applications are pre-installed together with the operating system. Okay? Some of the most common basic applications are web browsers, media players, document processors, and compressors. Okay? So how about special applications? These programs are more narrowly focused on specific disciplines and occupations. Specialized applications include graphics programs, audio and video editing software, multimedia, and programming. So these applications are not generally installed by the common end users. Okay? These are installed by users within specific occupations or disciplines. So you have examples right here. You have your AutoCAD, you have your Adobe, you have your Visual Studio, okay? And much more. Okay. Now, we have what we call software interfaces. Now, software interfaces are languages, codes, and messages that provides programs to use to communicate with each other and to the hardware. So most commonly termed as user interfaces. Okay. These are the keyboards, mice, commands, and menus used for communication between you, the user, and the computer. Could also be defined as the design of the interaction between the user and the computer. So the rules, formats, and functions between components in a communication systems or network are called protocols. Then the language and message formats between routines with a program or between software components is called an application programming interfaces or the API. Okay? So we have some examples right here. You have the command line interface. So the command line interface is a text-based user interface used to view and manage computer files. Abbreviated as CLI, okay? This connects a computer to a computer program or operating system. Through the CLI, user interacts with a system or application by typing in commands, and this command is typed in a specific line following a visual prompt from the computer. So the system responds to the text, and the user may then type on the next command line as it appears. Through this command and response interaction, the user is able to issue a series of commands which are then executed by the system or the program. So this is the most common way to interface with the software, okay, from the beginning up to until the 90s. However, as we move on to the more technologically advanced computer hardware, the computer software also innovates. This is when we get the graphical user interface. Now, the graphical user interface is a type of user interface through which users interact with electronic devices via visual indicator representations. So these are designed as a response to the problem of inefficient usability in early command line interfaces for the average user. So this makes computers more approachable, okay, with the more average consumer. So this becomes the standard of user-centered design in software applications and programming, providing users the capability to intuitively operate computers and other electronic devices through the direct manipulation of graphical icons such as buttons, scroll bars, windows, tabs, menu, cursors, and the mouse pointing device. And as we say, with the improvement of hardware, many modern graphical user interface features touchscreen and voice command interaction capabilities. Okay. Now, next type of software is we have your malicious software. Now, malicious software, called malware for short, is any type of software that is intended to harm or hack the user. They might be attempting to steal someone's information, or they might simply do it for malicious reasons. It's very hard to pin down a definition for malware because it can work on so many different ways. Anything that is intended to cause harm or to gain unauthorized access would fall under this broad heading. Now, malicious softwares, okay, we have different types. Okay? We have number one, you have your ransomware. This is the most popular right now. Okay? When we say popular, this is the most one of the most prioritized type of malware to combat against. Why? So because ransomware is a malware version of a kidnapper's ransom note. It typically works by blocking or denying access to your device and your files until you pay a ransom to a hacker. So any individual or groups storing critical information on their devices are at risk from the threat of ransomware. Now, this is common for companies or organizations that have very sensitive information or data stored on their computer. Thus, ransomware must always be approached with caution. Next is what we call a spyware. Spyware collects information about a device or network, then relays its data back to the attacker. The hackers typically use spyware to monitor a person's internet activity and harvest personal data, including login credentials, credit card numbers, financial information, for the purposes of fraud or identity theft. Okay. Next is we have your worms. So these are designed with one goal in mind: proliferation. So a worm infects a computer, then replicates itself, spreading to additional devices while remaining active on all infected machines. So some worms act as delivery agents to install additional malware. Other types are designed only to spread without intentionally causing harm to their host machines. Okay, but this still clog up networks and bandwidth demands, basically crippling your system. Okay. Now, adware, this job is to create a revenue for the developer by subjecting the victim to unwanted advertisements. Common types of adware include free games or browser toolbars, as they collect personal data about the victim, then use it to personalize the ads they display. Okay, though most adware is legally installed, it's certainly no less annoying than other types of malware. Then we have your Trojans. So a Trojan horse is a vehicle for hidden attackers. So Trojan malware infiltrates a victim's device by presenting itself as a legitimate software. Once installed, the Trojan activates, sometimes going so far as to download additional malware. Now, botnets isn't a type of malware, I should say, but a network of computers or computer code that carry out or execute malware. Attackers infect a group of computers with malicious software known as bots, which are capable of receiving commands from their controller. These computers then form a network, providing controller access to a substantial degree of collective processing power, which can be used to coordinate attacks, send spam, steal data, and create fake ads on your browser. Okay. So far, do you have any questions about our topic? So if there are no more questions, okay, please answer the following sections in the learning packet. We have your activity and assignment for learning packet 4 for our computer fundamentals. And with that, okay, thank you for listening and watching our topic for today.